Selling your home with a tenant. Hi, this is Fernando Herboso with reallynicehomes.com, Maxus Realty Group, and today we're going to be talking about the challenge of selling a rented home. The first piece of advice many realtors give homeowners who want to sell their home while a tenant's in residence is don't do it. And there are many reasons why realtors will say this because of the experience we have before with so many tenants that actually sabotage the sale of a property, and they have horror stories out there that you have to be aware of before you make this decision. And one of the challenges is that you may ask why is that because realtors themselves are sometimes reluctant to show homes that have a tenant in place because of the potential for coming up against an unhappy tenant. And this is a very important part of selling a home for the most money, is to have as many buyers as possible to come to the property. And this is definitely not good news for someone selling a home with a tenant. Normally, a home with a tenant will sell for less than a home that is unoccupied or has the owner in residence. But let's say that you have to sell this house anyway. So my first piece of advice for you will be to be proactive and set expectations beforehand. You have to sit down with your realtor, and you have to establish the notice requirements that will be proper to do to the tenant and make sure everyone is on the same page before all this goes through. If the current lease is enforced and everything is in good standing with your tenant, you should have no problem selling your property, because this is really good news for you. Because a lot of times we can sell a property to another investor, so the purchaser has to agree to the terms of the lease enforced, but everything is okay because the tenant doesn't really have to move out, and the new owner comes in, has a new lease signed after the lease ends, and that's basically it. If the lease is enforced, and this is a big however, and the tenants are behind on their payments, then you should start eviction procedures right away, because this is a recipe for disaster to try to sell a property while a tenant who's behind on their payments is living on the property. Before venture selling it, you need to evict this tenant because they are not up on their payments. Another thing that you must be aware is about the laws of your state, and they should be followed because each tenant has rights within your state just as you have rights as a landlord. But in some cases, the tenants may have an advantage over the landlords on the laws that apply to them. For example, in my area in Washington, D.C., I live in Maryland, but in the area of Washington, D.C., the tenants have the right of first refusal to purchase the property. They have the right to buy the house, and you have to wait a reasonable amount of time for them to be able to tell you yes or no before you can actually sell the property to somebody else. They have the choice to negotiate the price and terms with you, the seller, to possibly buy it. You can present your asking price, but be prepared for your tenant to counter that price to a lower offer. And do understand this 100%, that if the tenant has a lease and is enforced, they cannot be evicted before the end of their term. You cannot just say, I want to sell my house and you need to get out. There is no such a thing. You have to go and follow what they agree in the original lease. If the buyer takes possession before the move-out date of the tenant in the lease, then the new buyer will be stuck with this tenant under the terms of the original lease or rental agreement. So basically, the lease is part of the house, and you have to sell it with all its conditions. This is the time when you need to involve a good realtor to help you sell the property. You need to negotiate the terms with the tenant to allow you to market the property through your realtor. And the realtor has to have the right touches to make sure that the tenant is happy at all times. I have sold homes before, and I find that some of my tenants are very willing to help me sell the property when I tell them that the potential buyer might be an investor that will likely be interested in keeping them in place. And they suddenly become very cooperative because they think that they want to be staying on this property. And obviously, you have to say the truth. I always say that there might be an investor that more likely will purchase this property with the lease on it, and they may possibly stay on the property, but not necessarily to promise them that this is what's going to happen. Say the truth and represent it as such. The very worst problem that you can do is to try to sneak to selling the property before telling the tenants about it or trying to do something behind their backs, because when they find out, you're going to have some very pissed off tenants that may go after you, whether it's going to go through the court or they may refuse to leave the house and present a huge problem to you later on. Another trick that I used before is that I will suggest that the homeowners consider giving them a concession of the rent for keeping the place in good condition while they're trying to sell the property. You can give them a discount of 10% or the return of their full deposit with no questions asked, provided you know that the property is in good condition, of course. If a tenant refuses to let buyers in to see the unit after being given proper notice, the landlord can start eviction proceedings just for that reason, and you have rights. You need to consult an attorney for this. And the landlord also could potentially claim damages if the tenant's actions and decisions prevent the landlord from selling the home in a timely manner. You can sue the tenant for not allowing you to sell the property under normal conditions. A good realtor should know how to work with tenants. They have to be very persuasive. And when you want a tenant to do what it needs to be done to sell a home, a good realtor should be able to convert a tenant as the best advocate to help you sell the house. When landlords and tenants, and including realtors, understand the rules and the conditions of the lease, I can assure you of a successful sale and everyone wins. Hi, my name is Fernando Herboso. I'm a broker, listing specialist for Maryland, DC, and Virginia, and we have listed many properties before with tenants in place. We know how to do this. We have the touch. We know how to treat tenants with respect and making sure they collaborate to help you sell your property. Give us a call. Give us a try. 301-246-0001. Fernando Herboso, reallynicehomes.com. Thank you and have a great day.